Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to march forward to another offseason together. As always, you can find all of our 24/7, 100% free boots on the ground coverage on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI. And you can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about whether we are buying or selling several Jaguars pre-draft rumors, and also weigh in with some rumors that we've heard of our own. First and foremost, I think has to be Ashton Jeanty. There has been an unbelievable amount of smoke connecting, the Jaguars to Jeanty from national reporters, national mock drafts, etc. And it truly seems like many people are now convinced that the Jaguars are the team for Jeanty in the top 10. Now, one thing I've heard consistently throughout this process, but especially, over the last few days, making phone calls, etc., reaching out to people, trying to see what's real, what isn't, is that not many people believe Jeanty gets past the Raiders. It is firmly believed in NFL circles that the Raiders want Jeanty, and up until the last week or so, when people started thinking, wow, the Jags might take Jeanty, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Jeanty would be a Las Vegas Raider. Obviously, some other teams in the top 10, top 12 range would have interest in Jeanty. Chicago Bears have been thrown out there a lot. They absolutely seem like a team that, probably have Jeanty very, very high on their board for similar reasons that people think the Jaguars would, because of, what he can do for the offense, what he can do for a young quarterback, etc. And there are some around the league who believe that the Bears like Jeanty enough that they would explore the trade up. And I think if you're the Jaguars, that would obviously be ideal news. But to me, I buy Jeanty to an extent, because I think if the argument is who are the other impact players that you can pick at number 5, I don't necessarily disagree. I don't think it's a very good class at the top. I think that's probably the way the Raiders would weigh in as well. But to a degree, I'm also starting to feel like maybe sell on the Jeanty talk. Maybe this is the Jaguars making their grand stand in terms of trying to drum up some kind of trade interest for number 5 pick. ESPN's Adam Schefter listed the Jaguars as one of several teams that would prefer to trade down in the first round, which makes a lot of sense. Picking early in this first round is not a great place to be in. It's always a good idea to try to trade down if you can, get pretty good value, etc., because the draft is such a crapshoot. But from asking around, from talking to people near the team, talking to other people in the league, it really does not seem like there's been any appetite for it at all. And now that can all change on draft night. Maybe Jaguars are picking at number 5 and the Chicago Bears, Las Vegas Raiders, Dallas Cowboys, any of these teams, maybe they see Jeanty as the missing piece for their team. And they are just terrified the Jaguars are going to take him. If not the Jaguars, terrified that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to take him. To me, if the Jaguars were going to do any gamesmanship, this is the scenario to do it. Make enough teams believe that you're going to take Jeanty that early to try to drum up some kind of trade leverage. Because there's no other player teams are trading up to number 5 for. I'm not sure if I believe that teams would trade up to 5 for Jeanty. but I think it at least gives them, a shot. So I do buy that the Jaguars are high on Genty. I think it's very clear most teams are. This is kind of stating the obvious, but have been told that the Jaguars have a very high grade on him. Obviously, this is no secret because you can imagine pretty much every team's going to have a really high grade on him. Like, wow, this record-breaking near Heisman winner. Teams are high on. That's not breaking news. So I do believe that the Jaguars, that he's an option at 5. But I also now I'm starting to believe maybe this is the Jaguars kind of playing some, 3D chess. Maybe this is their way of trying to stir the pot a little bit. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out on draft night. We'll find out when/if the Jaguars pass or take Genty at number 5. As for the other rumors, it seems like Tet McMillan has been linked to the Jaguars now by a couple people. I know Todd McShay, I believe. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I believe Rich Eisen. And then, of course, Adam Schefter, saying that some in the league have compared him to Mike Evans, who obviously Liam Cohen has a lot of experience with. I'm selling on this one. I truly am. I do not think the Jaguars are going to take Tet McMillan at number 5. I think if they traded down, even then, if you're trading into still the top 10, I don't think they take him there. If you're in the teens, maybe. But, and this is, going a little bit out on a limb, but from my understanding, I don't presume that the Jaguars are especially high on Tet McMillan. I don't think he will be the pick at number 5. And I know that there's a lot of people connecting them, and to a degree, yeah. If you want to help Trevor Lawrence's passing production, Tet McMillan is the pick to make it 5. But I also simply do not think the Jaguars see him as the kind of talent that goes at number 5. And maybe come draft night, I'm wrong. Maybe they draft Tet McMillan at number 5, and I will wear that badge of honor of being wrong. I'll take it on the chin like I have in the past. But I just firmly do not believe that he is in play for the Jaguars at number 5. I've said before, I think Mason Graham, Will Campbell, if he's there, and Ashton Genty. I personally, I think if Will Campbell was there, I think he'd be the pick. But I don't think they expect him to be there. I don't think most in the NFL expect him to be there. I think most are expecting him to be a New England Patriot. So if they're picking at 5, I think it's Mason Graham or Genty. I really do. And I'm not going to put out my final Jaguars mock until Wednesday. It will be out Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. Be ready for it. That is, I will give my final pick. We've nailed some in the past, Trayvon Walker, etc., and we've missed on others. We had offensive line right in 2023, but they went with Anton Harrison instead of Osiris Torrance, I believe I had them taking. So it'll definitely be critical to see who's there for the Jaguars, because I do think, if New England goes in a different direction, or if the Giants go in a different direction than people expect them to go in, such as Abdul Carter, obviously that changes things for the Jaguars pretty dramatically. But as of right now, those are the names I believe are the most likely at 5. And simply put, I'm selling on the Tet McMillan to Jaguars rumors. Again, perhaps I'm wrong, but I simply do not believe that the Jaguars are going to take Tet McMillan at number 5. I think there are a variety of reasons for it, and don't really think that, it's necessary for me, from my platform, to get into any, that either. But it's a definite thing around the NFL that people are having to answer some questions about, how they feel about McMillan and what he brings to the table as a prospect. That is a very real thing that's going on in NFL circles right now. So ultimately, that's how I'm feeling about some of the draft rumors that we're hearing around this time. Go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Let me know what you think. My name is John Shipley. We'll be back tomorrow.